Hey folks, welcome to another review with yours truly, Sam Healey. Today we're taking a look at the Event Horizon expansion for Exodus Proxima Centauri. Now, this game has been called by some, me included, as Twilight Imperium 3 Lite back in the day, and now maybe Twilight Imperium 4 Lite. Well, here's the thing. I do agree with that to an extent for the base game. Now, with the things that this changes, what I'm going to do, it actually comes with 10 different modules and 3 different styles of play. You can play it solo, you can play it co-op, you can play it semi-co-op. Well, I guess that's 4 styles of play, or you can just play it regular competitively. So here is the thing. It has 10 modules in it. So what does it change to the game? Let's get down to the table. I'll show you all of the different modules, and then we'll come back with my final thoughts in just a few moments. Okay? So let's get to it. So as we begin talking about the different modules that come in Event Horizon, the first module is the Bonus Actions module. These are 4 new cards that can be added to the bonus action deck from the base game, and they actually also include a variant rule, which is pretty simple, where the Vice Chancellor will simply shuffle and randomly draw 6 of the bonus actions that are in the game, and then make their selection from those 6 cards. So these different bonus actions, what do they do? This one is called Accelerated Cloning, and basically each player gains 2 population on their home planet when this action is carried out. This one is called Supplies, and you basically receive any one upgrade for which you have researched the required technology. So that's pretty cool. And then this one over here is called Nanobots. Each player may remove 1 damage from each one of their ships. So that's very cool. And then here is a once per game bonus action, which allows each player to play an extra action card this turn, but no reactions can be carried out this turn. So now module 2 is called the Centaurian Resistance, and this is something that is going to be ramping up the effectiveness of the Centaurian Resistance throughout the course of the game. They kind of petered out at the end of the base game, and this module kind of fixes, quote unquote, that. So these regular fleet tokens are going to replace all of the level 1 and 2 fleet tokens from the base game, and then these strong fleet tokens are going to replace the level 3 fleets that were in the base game. In addition to that, the Centaurian Resistance will gain strength over the course of the turn. And so you have a strength chart for just the regular base game, then you also have a strength chart for the co-op mode and the semi-co-op mode as well. So basically, whenever you're fighting one of these fleet tokens, you're going to go by this chart here. So for example, in the first turn, or turns 1 and 2, you're only going to be flipping over a level 1 resistance card. Not bad. But in level 2, if you fight one of these, in turn 3, you're going to be fighting a level 2. And then in turn 4, you're going to be fighting a level 3. And then in turn 5, if you turn over one of these, you're going to be turning over a level 1 and a level 3. Now, these strong fleet tokens are the same way, except they're always treated as being 1 level higher than the other ones. So if we're in turn 1 and 2, and we come into these, we're actually going to be flipping over a level 2 strength. And if we're in level 3, or turn 3 rather, we're going to be turning over a level 3 strength if we're fighting one of these tokens. So that's the Centaurian Resistance. In addition to that, if you defeat a Centaurian Resistance token, it gets flipped over. If you leave a ship there, that's fine. It stays defeated. But if one of these defeated tokens is ever in one of your systems that doesn't have any ships, it gets refreshed and they come back and you have to fight them again later on. So the Centaurian outposts here are going to be alien outposts that are going to be possibly inhabiting the planets that you land your troops on, and they're going to have 2 sides. Of course, this is one side, and then the other side will have either level 1 or 2 on it, or it could be absolutely blank, meaning that it's been an abandoned outpost. But these are going to be representing different Centaurian peoples that you're going to have to be fighting against in order to gain the rights of those planets. When you land on a planet, you're going to be rolling dice dice against these guys, and if they suffer a number of hits equal to their level, then they're done and nothing's a problem. But if you don't score enough wounds to take them out, then they're going to attack you back, and so forth and so on. So they could actually defeat you. Now, if you defeat an outpost, for example, level 1, then you're going to be able to draw one of these reward cards, which could give you 4 points if you keep it for the end of the game, or you can discard it and get these things and add them to your ships later on, or you have special effects that you can carry out, and so forth and so on. Level 2 is basically the same thing. You're going to be getting victory points, or you can learn a new tech with this one, or you get some level 3 shield with that one, or you get a cannon and some, weapon of mass destruction with this one, I believe. So you have these different outpost reward decks, and then of course these as well. And you also have these updated turn order summary cards, which have all of these different additions to them. The ones that are in red, and then of course the ones that are in blue are for other things as well. Module 4 is the Exploration module, and this brings in a number of different tokens, a bunch of planet debris tokens that you'll be using, of course. And in this one, during setup, all of the planet tiles are put in face down, like so, showing their empty side. And they are not flipped over until a person ends their movement on an empty space. In that case, a event card is going to be flipped over, and there's going to be a couple of different things that can happen. First of all, it can be just something of interest. So, for example, this planet of interest means that the planet that you just landed on is a planet of interest, and it's going to be worth an extra 2 points at the end of the game for you. Or it could be something like a bounty, where you will be able to take this token and place it on somebody, another player. And if you ever win combat against that player, you're going to get an extra 2 points toward the end of the game. There are also boon events that look like this, and these are usually good things. You know, like this one is a technological breakthrough. You read the effect of the text and you carry it out. But there are also banes, where you will find, for example, here a Centaurian cruiser, and you'll have to. It has a cannon strength of 2 and a shield strength of 2, and you have to go out and do a combat against it. So there's a number of different things here. Spare parts. So the previous demise of an unknown vessel becomes your boon. You may immediately receive any one ship upgrade for which you already have researched the required technology. And so there's a number of different things how here, rough re-entry. So there's a lot of different things here. So whenever you enter into a new hex that has not yet been explored, you will have to flip one of these cards and carry out the thing here. Now, there is a special kind of technology here called a sector scan, where it can basically negate any of these bane effects, so that if you research this technology first, then you're able to knock out some of these bad things and not have to worry so much about exploration. And of course, these planet debris tokens are used for when those planets have been destroyed for one reason or another. And then you also have, this one right here, the no space combat electromagnetic field. So a strong magnetic field that permeates the area. No space combat will take place in this hex for the remainder of the game. So that's what this little guy does. And then the 2 wormhole tokens here, you would basically follow the examples here, but this would make 2 non-adjacent sectors adjacent to each other. So you would basically follow the example here. It says, immediately upon entering this sector, your ship detects a strong anomaly in the fabric of space. Place 1 wormhole token in the hex. Place a second wormhole token in another face-up hex within 4 spaces away. So, and then those 2 sectors will be considered adjacent because of the wormholes that are there. And then Module 5 brings in 23 new planet hexes. So you can see some of them here, and then the rest are over here that I've set apart. Some don't produce any resources, but are worth 6 points at the end of the game. Others are where you cannot, where mining actions don't have any effect on them. So you'll never be able to raise the number of dice and the number of pips on a die here because they are not able to be mined. Over here you have some that are dual producing planets. Let me get these back into the screen for you. So this one produces red and green. This one produces blue and green, and this one produces blue and red. All right, so you can see where they have dual things there. These have different kinds of CP discounts for these different kinds of resources. So whoever has ships that are on these 3 different planets, and of course there's more than just these 3, but anybody who has presence in this sector will be able to get that discount on those kinds of technology and advancements. Then you also have barren planets, which are like these right here. And the barren planets, basically, you have to, whenever you land here, you have to roll. And, well, during the production phase, you have to roll. And on a 4 or higher, they produce normally. But if you roll a 1, 2, or 3, they're tapped out. They don't have any resources for you to produce there. And then, of course, you also have these peaceful planets, and these planets cannot be targeted by rockets or weapons of mass destruction, but they can be, regular combat can take place here, but they just can't be targeted by WMDs. And Module 6 is the Proxima Centauri module, and this hex basically represents the High Council space on the board, and the places surrounding it are affected by solar wind, which means that you have to have these 2 different technologies to be in order to basically enact. While in a hex affected by solar wind, here up here for the solar shield boosters, the engaged in a player combat or Centaurian resistance combat, the strength of each of your shields is increased by 1. So these are things that help you out. And then, of course, the solar cannon boosters will do the same thing. Your attack results of 4 or better are successful hits if you're in a space that is affected by solar wind, which is the ones that are surrounding Proxima Centauri. And then, of course, there are also the differences in phases that are affected on the turn order summary as well. So that is the Module 6, Proxima Centauri. So Module 7 are jump gates, and these are structures that can be built during the build ships action, but they are not considered ships, so they don't count towards that or anything like that. But what these do is that at the end of the conquest stage, in reverse turn order, you can activate one of your ships from anywhere on the board to come back to a hex anywhere on the board that is occupied by a jump gate. But you can never activate jump gates belonging to another player, and you can never place a second jump gate in a hex where they already have a jump gate. So these are just simply making it easier for you to get back home, or it's easier for you to get back to somebody's front door and begin attacking them again. So that's jump gates makes getting around the system a little bit easier. Module 7 are communication satellites, which are also structures that can be built during the build ships action, but they don't add to the number of ships that you have or anything like that. And you can build them for 3 blue during the build ships action. And basically, the first one has to go into your home system, and then after that, they can be placed adjacent to where you already have them. The effects of those satellites, basically, it deals 1 damage in combat round when involved in space combat that takes place in the hex. Additionally, the person who owns the satellite receives a bonus to range when launching a weapon of mass destruction from that specific hex. They cannot move, they can't be destroyed, but they do help you throughout the course of the game. So that is Module 8, Communication Satellites. Module 9 are these energy barriers, and each player basically gets 1 at the beginning of the game and can place it to pretty much make it a little bit more difficult for people to get to where you don't want them to get to. So they represent a barrier that cannot be crossed by anything but a fighter. So that's that. It pretty much just gives you the ability to make the board a little bit more tight, a little bit more constricted. And the final module that comes in Event Horizon are the leader factions and the leaders, and basically what these do is they just simply have a special effect that you can use throughout the course of the game, and all of them have different things that they can do. So it's pretty self-explanatory. At the beginning of the game, you're going to choose one of, you're going to get 2 dealt to you, and you can choose one of them. So that is how these different leaders work, and they'll be able to do a number of different things. But it's a pretty cool thing because it gives you something that you can do that nobody else can do. And I like it when variable player powers enter into a game. Just makes the game a little bit more fun, in my opinion. And then also in the rulebook, you have a scenario called the Centaurian Stronghold, where a number of different other kinds of tokens are used. And then there are also fully cooperative play rules and semi-cooperative play rules that are used throughout. So there's a number of different things that are used, and of course those 2 different charts that we showed you earlier on. There is solitaire play as well, and of course there's another Event Horizon Scenario 2 that you can use. So there is just a lot of stuff going on, a little bit of a cheat sheet for all of the new technologies that come in the game as well in the expansion. So that is Event Horizon. So that is that for the Event Horizon expansion for Exodus Proxima Centauri from NSKN Games. Now, I have had the privilege of playing a game of Exodus Proxima Centauri with all 10 of these modules added into it. I did it on purpose because I wanted to see how they all worked together, and they do work together. Now, as the rulebook states, you probably should not do that. It does add a considerable amount of time to the game, and the game isn't short already to begin with, so you probably don't want to do that. But there are a lot of modules in here that do go together well, and I think you would do well in enhancing your game if you were to put them together. Module 1, the bonus actions. This is an easy peasy add. I don't know why you would ever not use this module unless you just didn't want to, or you didn't like what some of the different things do in those bonus actions. So there is that. I don't think that the bonus actions, I mean, it doesn't add any play time to the game. It doesn't add any really complexity. It just gives a little bit of diversity in those bonus actions. So that one is one that I think you should always include, and one that I would probably always include. The second one and the third modules are, for me, they kind of go together. The Centaurian Resistance and then the Centaurian Outposts. I think those go together well, but they do add, I think, a good bit of complexity, and they also add a good bit of time to the game as well. So whether or not you want to use those two is completely up to you, and it's really going to depend upon, I think, the kind of game that you want to play and how complex you want the game to be. If you are a TI3 or a TI4 fan and you want something that's a little bit more like that experience, you're probably going to be using these 2 modules of this expansion a lot, because it does really give that feel but doesn't carry with it the extra time that a TI4 game would require. Now, with that having been said, I think the Centaurian Outposts module probably adds some of what some TI3 fans didn't like from the, I believe, the Distant Suns expansion, where landing on a planet and being able to take control of that planet is not always guaranteed. You have to plan ahead, you have to buy the right techs, you have to drop enough guys down, because you know, if you if you land on that outpost and they don't fall to your forces, then you're gonna have to wait another turn. You've basically wasted a turn there, just due to bad luck. So I don't know how much I like this. I just think that these 2 modules, the Outposts and the Centaurian Rebellion, or whatever it is, Resistance, those two go together, and I think you probably should use them together, but whether or not you're going to like the combination, I don't know. You'd have to try that out for yourself. Module 4, the exploration, I think is one that you should always use as well. I am a big fan of exploration in games, not knowing what's there and venturing out and flipping something over and wow, I found something really cool, or wow, I found something that I already had two of already. That kind of feeling, that tension that comes from exploration in games. I really enjoy that. So Module 4 is a module that I would probably always use playing Exodus Proxima Centauri. I just like what that brings to the table. Module 5, the new planets. Again, this is one that I don't think you'll ever not use, mixing these in with the planets that already come in the base game, shuffling them up, and then using them randomly. Really, I think this is just one of those addition modules that are in this expansion that you would probably always use, at least in part. Module 6, Proxima Centauri. Again, I don't know that you'll probably use that often. It's probably just one that you'll try, and if you like it, you'll continue using it, but really it's kind of a 50-50 give or take. Module 7, the jump gates, I think this is one that I would always use. I like the fact that you'd be able to jump across the galaxy and have a little bit more mobility. That's one of the things that I didn't really like about these kinds of games, in movies and in books and stuff like that. Ships can just jump across the galaxy at the drop of a hat. Now, again, they're using that tech, those abilities that the ships have that are already in place, and part of these kinds of games, and TI4 is building up your race to be able to do stuff like that. So I like the ability of doing this, and I think the jump gates would be something that I would always add. The communication satellites is probably a take it or leave it, whatever you'd like. If you like to have more bonuses in combat, more bonuses to, if you like using weapons of mass destruction in the game, the different rockets that are there, then maybe this is a module that you're going to want to add and always keep in there. But maybe having that extra bonus in combat, or having that extra bonus of accuracy when firing weapons of mass destruction, isn't a big deal for you, so this is one that you could leave out. But really, it's kind of up to you. Energy barriers is another no-brainer. I think it's a take it or leave it, because it does not add anything to the game, doesn't add any complexity. It just makes the board a little bit more tight. So again, I think it's a neat idea, but I don't think that it is that necessary either way. It's just going to be dependent upon what you want to do. The leaders is a must include, in my opinion. It gives everybody an ability that nobody else can do. And I like that variation, or that differentiation between players in games like this. It just makes us feel different, instead of, just a bunch of vanilla races that are kind of all just the same, but just starting in different parts of the galaxy. Leaders give us something that differentiates us from that. So I like it when games do that. I love it when you can have a different approach to a game. So the Module 10 leaders, that's always going to go in no matter what. Now, as far as the other modes of play, I have not played this with the solo mode. I'm not a big solo mode gamer, but I also have not played the cooperative mode, and I do enjoy cooperative game modes. The way that you win is that you have to defeat the Centaurian outpost, and we all do that together, and the game would immediately end if you do that. So that's an interesting concept. I think that's a cool thing to do, is everybody banding together and doing that. But I haven't played it yet, so I really can't say much about it. I just like the idea. The semi-cooperative mode, the game ends immediately when the stronghold is defeated also. But at that point, we do scores. So it's cooperative to get to the end of the game, but then there is only one winner based upon points scored during the course of that game. So there is that. I do like the fact that it also comes with 2 new scenarios to play in the game. So all in all, I think this is a good expansion for the game. If you already liked Exodus Proxima Centauri, I think this will add enough to the game to continue that enjoyment of the game. And I don't think it will be necessarily overwhelming for those fans of the game. If you use everything together, definitely overwhelming. Do not do that. Pick and choose. And then I think you'll find that you'll have some favorite combinations over the course of time. So I'm going to give Exodus Event Horizon a 7 out of 10. I think it's a great expansion for the game, and it does what expansions do. It doesn't really change the core of the game. It just gives you a few other layers of difficulty that you can add or not add depending upon what you want out of your games. So that is that for Exodus Event Horizon. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys and gals on the flip side.